One, a two, a one.
It's time for the Better Horses radio show. So let's saddle up and ride as we explore the Western way of life, horses and cows, family and friends, a relationship with the land, and a relationship with God. It's all here on Better Horses Radio. Now let's hit the trails with the Better Horses team.
And welcome to Better Horses. We are so glad you tuned us in today because we have a very exciting show. So my name's Ed Adams. Let me introduce my co-host for the day, professional horse trainer, Merle Orbo.
Howdy, howdy.
Merle, thanks for joining us. Hey, this is kind of a really diverse show that we're going to have today. We're going from nutrition to horse racing, all the way to the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, there's something for everybody on this one. You know what? It's always interesting that what a big gamut we have to talk about, and every week I feel like we get a little different perspective from somebody.
Okay, so now here's some trivia for you, since we're going to be talking about horse racing. The number one World Cup in horse racing is in Dubai, and that's considered one of the largest in the country. 14 countries go into that. We're going to take this down to a smaller scale by talking to Jason Olmstead. He's a leader quarter horse racing trainer, and he's going to be real exciting to talk to because he's actually been in this competing field for a very long time.
Yes. Yeah. Jason's an expert, and he also brings a wealth of knowledge from being on top of the race horses too, not just a trainer.
Everybody's looking for this in every show, and that's nutritional valued information. And I am proud that we're coming on board Katie Young. She's a consultant for Equine Nutritionist. She's been with Purina / Land O'Lakes for over 20 years, and she provides equine nutrition consulting for feed companies, veterinarians, and horse owners all over the country.
She's really interesting because she's independent also. So there's so much, and I think she'll probably talk to this a little bit, is there's so much marketing and so much being pushed down our throats. And it's interesting as an independent person, you know, she doesn't have any brand loyalty. She can say whatever she wants to say.
And bringing back and wrapping up the show with the Department of Agriculture in Missouri, we're going to be bringing on Chris Chinn. She has been a lifelong agricultural specialist for a long time, and she works for the director of Missouri Department of Agriculture since 2017. Chris is going to give us some insight of what the state's challenges are, what farmers are looking for, and what ranchers are looking for as far as agriculture goes.
And you talk about diverse. The Department of Agriculture in Missouri is very diverse, and that gal wears a lot of hats, and she's a very interesting interview. So we will look forward to that.
So let's get our show started. And as promised, we're going to talk to a gentleman that has definitely been in the horse business for a long time. And if you haven't thought about it, the racing industry has becoming so popular that everybody seems to be watching it. And one of the things we're going to talk about is Remington Park, which is located in Oklahoma City. Now, this is a horse racing and casino in Oklahoma City. I know you've been there. And
yes,
it's actually it's a world-class pari-mutuel track in Oklahoma. And the amount of stalls there is just amazing. And we get to talk to a guy who is the leading quarter horse trainer down there. His name is Jason Olmstead, and he owns Circle JA Racing Ranch in Pryor, Oklahoma. And don't let him fool you, because it's kind of a training duo. Jason and his wife, Amber, they keep really high on the competitive field. So this is going to be their season, and they've got, Merle, they got 40 horses in the barn. So let's welcome Jason Olmstead to Better Horses Radio. Jason, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
You know, this is kind of exciting for us because, you know, as I try to humble you a little bit, but you're kind of a big deal. How many horses do you have on your ranch?
This year we have about 140 in training.
140. Now, this is not, you used to do thoroughbreds and quarter horses, but you're primarily concentrating on the quarter horse field?
Yep. This year we have all quarter horses. The last few years we've had one or two thoroughbreds that my mom raised and her and my son partnered on, but we're done with that. We're strictly quarter horses now.
Okay, so we're going to get into this interview. Now, you didn't start off training. You were on top of the horse. Why don't you walk us through that?
Yeah, from the time I was a little kid, all I ever wanted to do was be a jockey. I grew up in the racehorse industry. My grandparents trained quarter horses and thoroughbreds, and so that's the path I took, and did that for 15 years. And when it wasn't fun to diet anymore to do that, then we migrated into the training part of it.
So when you're a jockey, you almost have to be a wrestler, and your weight's everything at that point.
Weight is everything. Yep. You diet every day.
So going back to Remington, and I know you go to multiple racetracks, how many horses do you have in the park right now training?
At Remington, every trainer is allotted so many stalls. 40 is the maximum that one person can have. So we have 40 on the grounds there right now.
So, and with 40 horses out there, walk us through your regiment and what you do with the quarter horses.
Our mornings start about 5 o'clock. They feed and give them time to eat and whatnot. And then, by about 5:45 or so, we're starting to get horses out. Every horse, these things are athletes. So every horse has its own regiment. Some horses, they don't go to the track every day to exercise, but they all get out of their stall every day. So some horses go out to a walker, and they go on the walker for 30, 45 minutes while you're cleaning their stall and whatnot. Horses that you have scheduled to go to the track, the racetrack has set hours in the mornings, where at Remington, the track opens at 7 and closes at 11. So you're in a pretty tight windowed time frame to get all your horses that you need to go exercise out. So we start saddling horses and whatnot to where the first set usually leaves the barn about 6:50. That way they're standing at the gap ready to go at 7 and utilize every minute of it we can get. Once you're done with your morning routine and stuff, then we feed lunch and give them a break until night chores.
That's really interesting, Jason. Can you tell me, I know you do a lot of futurity colts too, don't you? Is there any difference in how you prepare a futurity horse versus, maybe an older type of horse?
Yeah, futurity horses, your babies, we started breaking babies like last September to have them ready to run now. We're coming up on our first set my first set of futurity trials here next week. So these horses, in the wintertime, we track them 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We ride them. They get rode once a day, every day, because you're still teaching them what their job is going to be, compared to an old horse. Once he's been through the regimen of his 2-year-old campaign, he pretty much knows the routine. You're not trying to worry about soundness issues and getting them fit and all that kind of stuff. They're pretty set. More or less, you just maintain their conditioning on an older horse, where the 2-year-olds were still developing their body and their mind.
So, Jason, when you're looking at a quarter horse, let's talk about how long you can run them. And since you're starting off at 2 and 3 years old, how long can they go and still be competitive?
Every horse is different, obviously.
Sure.
Our program, I am in it for the longevity. That's one reason that I don't believe in running our 2-year-olds early in the year right off the bat. For me, April is early enough. Like I say, we're in it for the longevity, and we've been fortunate. We've got horses that are 8 and 9 years old in our barn that are still running pretty well at the same level they were as 2-year-olds. That does not happen every day by any means. The biggest years that horses really have a chance of making big money is their 2 and 3-year-old year. And after that, depending on if it's a filly, if they've made that caliber of money, they usually go to become a broodmare. If they're a stud, we usually don't get to run them past their 3-year-old year, because their value is worth more as a stud horse than it is what we can make with them running. But there's always an exception to the rule every once in a while. But I have a good ration of like 4-year-olds, and then after that, they start finding other jobs.
So if I'm sitting in the Midwest and I have a quarter horse, now obviously you have 40 horses in the barn, and like I said, you're a pretty big deal. If a single owner quarter horse wants to play in this field, how hard would it be how difficult is it to get into this field?
All you need is a checkbook.
So, okay.
No, it's yeah, no, it's getting into it. It's really not that hard. It's easier if you've been in the horse industry and know a little bit about horses. But for somebody that goes to the races one time and it sparks an interest in them, I mean, you start asking questions. You just do your homework. You start asking questions, start talking to people. Hopefully, you get on the right track where somebody will lead you down the right path and not just give you the salesman pitch. It is a very fun sport to be a part of, and once you've been a part of it, if you really liked it, it gets in your blood, and it's very addictive, and it's very competitive. So if you're a competitive person that likes sports, it is a different aspect of the way to go.
And Jason, can you tell us exactly, like, so people at home, they want to get into it and maybe they don't know how, like, and I have people come up and they say, well, find me a horse or something. And I'm sure it's probably similar in the racing industry. Do you assist with purchases and prospects?
Yeah, I mean, for a totally new person to it, that is probably the easiest way. If they found somebody that they talk to, like a trainer that they've talked to and feel comfortable with it, some of our first time clients and stuff, that is what we do. I'll go to the sales with them. We'll walk through. I'll show them what I like, what I don't like, why I like this and why I don't like this. And at the sales, you can at least walk through and see hundreds of horses and get an idea of what kind of budgets you want to spend and stuff like that. All plays into what you can afford, and then try and buy the best one for your buck. And that's one thing about horse racing. I tell everybody too, it doesn't matter if you buy the horse for $1,000 or if you buy the horse for $100,000. They all start in the same line on race day, and they all have an equal chance.
The track features an American quarter horse paint Appaloosa season. I think that running March through June.
Yep. Yeah, the paints and Appaloosas, they run during the quarter horse season. Yeah. And they run by themselves. They just run against themselves. They don't run against the quarter horses. Because 9 out of 10 of the paints or Appaloosas can't compete with the quarter horses speed-wise.
Yeah, that's more of a physical breeding issue than anything else.
Correct.
And let's talk about the end game. Once you have all of these horses, where do you take them after they're done racing?
A lot of them, for the quarter horses, there's a lot of outlets. There's a very good aftermarket. Barrel racers, rodeo industry, they're always looking for horses all the time. There's 2 or 3 sales that one's in the fall every year and the other one's in January every year, that a lot of people take their older horses to if they're done running them. And then, like I said before, your stallions, if they had a good race career and they're marketable, they go on to a stud career. And same with your mares. If they're marketable as a brood mare, people take them home and start breeding them to raise the next generation.
Okay, now I know our listening audience wants to hear this, and you may not want to answer it, but what's an average purse on a race that you can somebody entering in the race can get to?
For your overnight races, which are just your day-to-day races, they don't cost anything to get into. Remington Park is our biggest meet in the nation for quarter horses, so our purses here are very inflated due to the casinos, and the state of Oklahoma likes horse racing. So at Remington, your average purses, I'm going to say, are close to $20,000. The winning horse gets 60% of that, and then the breakdown from there. I think second place gets 20%, third place 10%. Most of those races pay 5 monies. So if there's 10 horses in a race, 6 through last, they don't get anything.
So, Merle, you can quit your job and stop being a judge and a trainer, and we can just go into Jason's field. So,
yeah. Hey, Jason, how about superstitions? You got any?
I try not to, but I do have a few dumb little quirks. I've had 2 pennies and a silver dollar that I've carried with me for 8 or 9 years, and I kind of freak out when one of them falls out of my pocket, and for some reason I've always been able to find them. So they must want to stay with me as much as I think I need them.
That's great. Hey, Jason, if they wanted to learn more about you and the Circle JA Ranch, where do they go?
By phone's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Other than that, I'm about at every racetrack in the Midwest. We're not hard to find.
So he's got a Facebook page, and then we can basically just get you by phone. And so the nation's 3-time reigning champion trainer, Jason Olmstead. Jason, I want to thank you for joining us here at Better Horses. Love to come back. Merle and I will buy one of your quarter horses, and we'll win $20,000, and that should be as easy as it gets, right?
It's that simple.
Merle, we're going to take a break, and everyone, I want you to stay with us. We're going to hear from our sponsors. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after these messages.
2024 is the year to compete in the world's largest horse show, the Pinto World Championship. This 13-day event begins June 8th, starting with our youth weekend through June 22nd, and caters to all riding levels and ages. With over $1 million in cash and prizes, there are no qualifications required to enter. Held in Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at the Ford Complex, the Pinto World Championship caters to all types of equines. With over 700 classes, the Pinto Show welcomes a variety of breeds to compete. It's a family environment with healthy competition. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store. Higginsville, Missouri.
Internal parasite control is critical to your horse's health, but isn't always easy. Some worms are as stubborn as they are dangerous. Luckily, there's Panacure Fenbendazole from Merck Animal Health. It works in a powerful and extremely safe way, so it's tough on parasites, but gentle on horses, making it a safe choice for foals, weanlings, and even thin or debilitated horses. Consult your veterinarian for assistance in the diagnosis, treatment, and control of parasitism, and ask how Panacure can become part of your deworming strategy. Learn more at MerckAnimalHealthUSA.com.
Routine dental examination and treatments are essential for high-quality horse care. To prevent potential problems, a horse's mouth should be examined at least once a year. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins, Equine Field Service Veterinarian at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. We can examine the mouth and provide a treatment plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. You know, this is going to be the best segment that I have looked forward to for so long, because getting this next guest is so hard, and it costs you a lot of money just to get data from her because she's such a professional. But this segment is sponsored by the Pinto Horse Association of America, and the World Championship show is coming up in Tulsa, Merle, and it's at Tulsa Fairgrounds starting on June 8th, and they're going to start off with the youth speech contest.
Yes, that's a fun show. If you're thinking about it, or if you're on the fence, man, go ahead and put the dates down, take off work, go on down there and see Daryl. Tell him I sent you.
You know, there's 700 classes and over $1 million in prizes. If you haven't thought about it, now's the time to think about it. The following day, we'll continue with the horse judging, as I mentioned, but the whole show is going to be from June 8th to June 22nd. Okay, so who doesn't want to hear about horse nutrition? And this is something that's near and dear to everybody's heart because everybody has an opinion. And able to get to those opinions and actually decide on what's best, let me provide you with the best equine nutritionist in consulting that's out there right now. Her name is Katie Young, and she's been doing this for over 20 years. She worked for Purina/Land O'Lakes Animal Nutrition for over 20 years. She has her PhD from Texas A&M, and she's currently consulting for the Kentucky Equine Research. And they are an international equine nutrition research and consulting company serving horse owners around the feed industry. So from Better Horses, Katie, thank you for joining our show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
It is very exciting to have you. So you have consulted owners and businesses about the equine and taking these horses out of their natural habitat and putting them into various environments. The challenges that we have to feel of getting their carbohydrates and protein and fat and vitamins to them. What's your best approach, and what do you see as the biggest challenge out there?
To me, the biggest challenge, since horses are grazers and their digestive system is set up for some amount of forage going through their gut almost all the time. These days, we must, in most situations, keep horses in stalls, possibly limited turnout, limited grazing. So just trying to mimic Mother Nature as much as possible and keep forage in their gut. That's these days can be a very tricky thing to do.
With the amount of challenges we have in our feeds, and the good news about your position today is you are not a brand pushing consultant. You are pretty generic. And so asking you to decide all brands are good. Let's go with all feeds are good. All horse feeds are good. What should we look for as a general feed in horses? And what type of feed do you like to see in horses that are better or worse for some?
And that's a really good question. And I would love to give you a really simple answer. But of course, the answer is it depends. And the things that I look for first are the horses you're feeding. Are they hard keepers? Are they easy keepers? If they're easy keepers and they maintain their weight really well, just on hay, on grass, whatever forage you have available, then I go to a ration balancer, which is a concentrated protein, vitamin, mineral. It's usually a pelleted, I'll call it a feed, but you only feed 1 to 2 pounds a day to get the nutrient requirements met. So if the horse doesn't need more calories, 1 to 2 pounds a day for a typical 1,000, 1,100 pound horse is going to fill in all the nutrient holes that the forages leave. If you've got a bunch of horses that are moderate keepers, so they do need more calories, and you're looking more at feeding 4 to 8 pounds of something a day. And I tend to go for whatever your preference is, a pelleted or sweet feed that's moderate in soluble carbs, moderate in protein, so maybe 12 to 14% protein, probably 17 to 25% soluble carbs. And anymore, people are getting really hooked on very high fat feeds, which, unless a horse is a really hard keeper, they don't need tremendous amounts of fat. So, 6 to 8% fat, and just a nice general purpose feed that meets the requirements of lots of classes of horses is a good way to go to kind of feed the moderate keepers.
Well, that's interesting. What do you feel as a Ed and I both have barns, and obviously we have boarders, and we were talking before we came on the air here about how our grain carts used to look like before strategy, and we had all these supplement tubs and boxes and oils, and what's your take on supplements? I mean, do you think more horses need them? Are we feeding them too much supplements? What do you think about that?
The supplement business is a booming business, and yeah, there are some companies that are doing a great deal on supplements. And you get on social media, and man, it is amazing how many supplements there are. And in my consulting, I go through horse owners' lists of supplements going, okay, what's this one and what is it supposed to do? If you are meeting their nutritional requirements with the ration, with the forages, and then either the ration balancer and the feed, then you really shouldn't need additional nutritional supplements unless the horse is a special needs horse. And I do a lot of consulting with horses with various muscle myopathies, PSSM, MFM, that type of deal. And there are medical conditions that there's a need for like sometimes additional vitamin E, additional coenzyme Q10, additional specific amino acids. For special needs horses, yeah, definitely there are places that you need supplements. But in general, there's so much marketing out there that it is hard for a horse owner to sift through all the research versus the nonsense and say, okay, this is something my horse needs. If you've got a healthy horse that doesn't have any, special needs, and Ed, you've probably met my old man Boo, who's now 37.
You bet.
Yeah, and Boo gets no supplements. So he's 37 and still giving riding lessons. I had a young lady jumping on him this last Sunday. So they don't all need supplements. Again, if you've got a special needs horse, there are specific supplements, but the amount of unnecessary supplementation is funding a lot of businesses these days.
That is exactly true. And we're talking about supplements because it had become a big part of the industry. If you look at, the Farrier formulas, the Mare Magics, soybean meal, beet pulp, everybody's putting in there. Let's just take that down and drill it down a little bit. Let's talk about beet pulp for a minute. Your thoughts on that?
Beet pulp is a very palatable, highly fermentable source of fiber. It's a good ingredient in feeds. You can use some beet pulp if you need to replace some of the forage. It's a good ingredient. It's not magical. I've in formulating feeds, I have certainly used beet pulp as one of the ingredients. Is it something I'm going to supplement? Probably not. If I have a nice healthy horse for old guys that are running out of tooth, if they can't chew their hay, they may be able to utilize some nice wet beet pulp soup. But again, it's a good ingredient. It has a place as an ingredient. It's not a necessary ingredient. There's lots of other good ingredients.
I get back and forth opinions on this one. Soybean meal, soybean good for horses, soybean bad for horses. Your opinion?
I just wrote an article on soybean meal and just soy in general because, man, soy has been vilified.
It has
in social media, and for really poor reasons. Soybean meal is a very high quality bioavailable source of amino acids for horses. It's really considered probably the highest quality plant protein source for horses. People are concerned that horses might be allergic to soy. And first off, food allergies in horses in general are very rare. And most of the worry about food allergies is coming from serum allergy testing, which has been proven over and over again that serum allergy testing is not at all reliable for diagnosing food allergies in horses or actually humans. So it's very rare that horses have an allergy. It's fairly rare that horses even have any kind of sensitivity. So when you try to take soy out of the diet, it gets really hard to provide adequate essential amino acids to meet, especially a growing horse, a working horse, a lactating mare. It's very hard to meet their amino acid requirements without soybean meal.
And Katie, you kind of hit on something, and I kind of want to circle back to it. And we've kind of talked in general, and I think we're talking about, like, when you're talking about these kind of general feeds, you're talking about like strategy and that type. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you feel about, like, I mean, the old staple for many, many years was oats and alfalfa. I mean, do you think that's dated, or do you think there's still some merit, for that type of feed situation in these days?
I would say oats and alfalfa are fine if you add some ration balancer to get the amino acids from the protein and the vitamins and minerals. And there is old research. I couldn't even tell you how old it is now. Feeding oats and alfalfa to young growing horses versus feeding a balanced feed. And the The young horses on oats and alfalfa got fat, and the young horses on the balanced feed got tall. So when they don't have the nutrients to support optimal growth in height and skeletal structure, they quit growing and just get fat. Oats and alfalfa will provide calories, but you're missing out on some of the amino acids, you're missing out on some of the vitamins, you're missing out on some of the minerals.
Katie, we could be talking for the next hour. I've got to have you back on this radio show. We did not do it justice. I'm going to apologize to our viewers right now, but you're listening to Katie Young. She's a consultant of Equine Nutritionist. She provides equine nutrition consulting and feed companies, veterans, and also horse owners around the country. Katie, I can't thank you enough for getting on this show, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. We're also going to hit her up on an article too on our newspaper, so she doesn't know that's coming. I just threw that in there. So, Merle, I appreciate you hanging on there and asking the questions. Hey, Katie, thank you again. And we're going to take a break right now. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after these messages. And welcome back to Better Horses. You know, Merle, I got to tell you, we've got the spring newspaper coming out, and we want to make sure everybody's knowledgeable of that. We'll give everybody a chance to take a look at it online, and it's going to be in all stores, all ag-related stores, and all co-ops around the Midwest. But you can also subscribe to it.
Yes, that's the easiest way. It'll be right in your mailbox as soon as we get in the mail.
And one of the locations you can pick up this newspaper is going to be Heritage Tractor, John Deere, and they're located all over the Midwest. And we thank you for sponsoring this segment. And this segment is going to be very important to us because, as promised in the beginning of the show, we talk about everything, not only just horses and cattle, but we also talk about farming. What a great idea to bring on the Director of Agriculture into our show, but not just in the Director of Agriculture, but she's going to be in the state of Missouri. So we're going to welcome Chris Chinn, is going to be the Director of Agriculture, and she's a fifth-generation farmer that's from Clarence, Missouri. And at the end of the day, she has been doing this job for quite a long time, and she's got over 15 years. And she's earned national attention from the U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance, highlighted her as one of the 4 annual faces of farming and ranching. She's into it big. So welcome aboard, and welcome to Better Horses, Chris.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so starting from scratch here, what does the Director of Agriculture of Missouri do for a living?
Well, every day looks a little different. So January through May, we are dealing with the Missouri legislature and trying to get our budget for the Department of Agriculture passed through the legislative process. So we spend a lot of time in the Capitol answering questions about what our duties and responsibilities are here at the Department of Agriculture. But you'll also find me at meetings across the state year-round. I do a lot of evening meetings. I end up being guest speaker at a lot of functions. I serve on a lot of boards and commissions. So I serve on the Wine and Grape Board, the State Milk Board, the Missouri Agricultural and Small Business Development Board, as well as the Missouri State Fair Commission. I oversee the Grain Division at the Department of Agriculture, the Animal Health Division, our Ag Business Development Division, our Weights and Measures team, and our Plant Industries team as well. So I get to dive into a lot of issues inside of agriculture and consumer protection areas of the state as well. So if somebody calls and said, hey, I just bought a gallon of gas, but my gas tank didn't register where I think it did, could you guys come out and check this pump? I think I might have gotten ripped off. Our team goes out and checks that. We also check large scales at livestock barns and grain elevators, as well as the small scales in your grocery store.
You know, the Department of Agriculture was established back in 1933. So obviously a lot of challenges back then versus today. What do you see the biggest challenges in farming and ranching today than we didn't have before?
You know, I think the challenges are the same, but yet they're different as in the 1930s. You know, in the 1930s, they were needing rain. Well, you look where we've been for the last 2 years, we need rain in the state of Missouri as well. Technology was evolving back in the 1930s, but you look where we're at today with our technology in agriculture, and it continues to evolve. You know, you're seeing tractors now that don't have drivers in them. They're trying to figure out how to get autonomous tractors to work in America. And one of the biggest challenges we have is broadband, is trying to get high speed internet that's affordable out to our rural areas. So when you look at the challenges from the 1930s to today, they're pretty much the same. They just have taken on a different scope as to how big that challenge is. But we still are dealing with the same problems that our ancestors did in the 1930s. Agriculture people are price takers, not price makers. So the market dictates what we're going to receive for our product when we sell them. And some years we're not receiving much more than what they did in the 1950s or the 1960s. So you've got to be more efficient, and you've got to figure out how you're going to do more with less.
I looked at other states, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma. They all have the Department of Agriculture in each state. You kind of have a different environment where you have two very large cities, St. Louis and Kansas City, very urbanized. But Missouri is very rural when it comes to the seventh largest state in horses, the number 3 largest state in cattle. So you get to really mix the urban and rural in this state more than probably any other Department of Agriculture has to deal with.
You're right. And one of our largest counties for agriculture is actually St. Louis County. And that's because of the Mississippi River being right there, and all of our fertilizer products that come up that river, and then all of the grain that we ship downriver. So even though there might be urban areas in our state, a lot of people think, well, agriculture doesn't touch my life in this urban area, but it does. We have urban agriculture in all of our major cities, and you're starting to see a lot more people wanting to connect to the people who are growing their food. So farmers markets are becoming ever more popular, and we're seeing a high demand for those.
Well, and Chris, something Ed's talked a lot about, and I know we're excited here at Better Horses to see, is the new arena being built at the state fair. And can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you have any details?
Yeah, we are really excited about that. This is something that we've been talking about for probably the last 3 years. It's becoming more of a reality. It's been a dream of the State Fair Commission to always be able to expand on the facility that we have. We're excited because this is going to be a climate-controlled facility. It's going to seat at least 8,000 people. When you're not doing an event on the floor. If you're doing an event on the floor, then you can only have about 6,000 spectators there. But it's going to be a large enough arena that you can host large horse shows, rodeos, but you can also host cheerleading competitions and wrestling events or concerts. So the sky is going to be the limit. It's going to be a multi-use facility. We're hoping that we're going to be able to have some support structures that go with it. So a warm-up arena is going to be very important, as well as a facility where you're able to have stalls that are going to be nearby as well. So we're really excited about it. And the best part of it is that it's going to be climate controlled. So we're going to have air conditioning in the summer, heat in the winter. So this is going to be a facility that we can truly use year round.
I think, as you mentioned, the Missouri State Fair, it doesn't just target just one category. It really is an agricultural center for most states. Iowa does a really good job. Minneapolis does a really good job. Missouri State Fair is really coming on board. It's getting more attention. It gets more attendance, and it covers the gambit as far as all agriculture. This is kind of your wheelhouse right here, right?
It is. We like to call it the state's largest agriculture family reunion. It's an opportunity for families from all across the state who are involved in livestock to come together to show their animals, to show the genetics that they have on their farms and ranches. But it's also an opportunity for those who live in town to also be a part of agriculture too. So we see a lot of 4-H and FFA students who live in town but have a neighbor that has a farm that allows them to raise a couple head of livestock to be able to show at the county fair. And it teaches these kids a lot of great values and lessons that are going to carry them forward throughout their lives. But it also allows our rural communities to connect to the urban communities of our state to show them how their food is raised and cared for.
I know you work closely with Governor Parsons, the governor of the state of Missouri. What type of environmental advocacies do you guys are challenged with, or what do you see coming down the future?
Well, farmers and ranchers are the original environmentalists. They always want to make sure that they're taking care of their land, that they're leaving it in better shape for the next generation than what they received it. And that is something that is true throughout agriculture, no matter what part of the state you are in. There are a lot of pressures coming out of EPA onto our agriculture community. We're starting to see a lot of our crop protection tools come under fire. And that's very unfortunate because it's really going to tie the hands of our agriculture community when it comes to being efficient and making sure that we are maintaining the quality of product that we're used to producing in our state at the volume that we need to feed a growing world population.
Chris, do you find yourself working closely with the FFA and watching these kids getting up into this field, into this environment?
We love working with the FFA at the Missouri Department of Agriculture. It's truly one of the bright spots of my job as Director of Agriculture. We host FFA Week every year with the kids where the governor drives the tractor from the mansion to the Capitol to try and raise awareness about agriculture and what the Missouri FFA chapter does and what they stand for, the hard work that these kids put into their projects for the competitions. And, you know, we work with the state FFA officer team every summer. We help them with leadership opportunities. We have a program called Missouri Agribusiness Academy, where we take 30 sophomores who are FFA students from all across the state. We give them the opportunity to spend a week with my staff learning about what career opportunities there are in agriculture. We give them some media training later in the summer. We teach them about the legislative process again later in the winter. And so it really is a great opportunity to help these FFA students choose a career inside of agriculture, but also give them the foundation to build upon so that they can be an advocate for agriculture no matter where life might take them. We also have the Life Science Quest, where we partner with the University of Missouri to actually reach out to kids in the urban areas who don't have that exposure to FFA so that they can see what careers are available for them inside of the agriculture community.
And talk to me about collaboration with other states. Do you get a chance to talk to the other departments of agriculture in neighboring states?
We do. So our State Department of Agriculture is a member of the National Department of Agriculture, and we come together for an annual meeting every year in September, and we also have a winter policy conference in February timeframe out in Washington, D.C. And then within that organization, we have our Midwest Association of Department of Agriculture, where we have a meeting every summer with just our Midwest counterparts so that we can talk about the issues we're facing within our state, find common problems or challenges and opportunities so that we can get ideas from each other and try to work together. You know, when it comes to animal movements from one state to another, we have to have great working relationships with our neighboring states to make sure that we're preventing any animal disease problems that could arise.
And Chris, the future of agriculture, final thoughts?
I think the future of agriculture is very bright. The FFA is doing a great job of turning out some great leaders. Not every high school has an FFA chapter, but there are 4-H chapters in every county as well. So I think our future is very bright. These kids are coming out with better skills than what my generation did when we were leaving high school, and they have more knowledge at their fingertips. They have access to the internet where they're able to research more and have opportunities to tell their story of agriculture on the World Wide Web as well. So I really think our future is bright when it comes to the next generation of leaders in agriculture.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on our show and walking us through this. For all our listeners, Chris Chinn, the Missouri Department of Agriculture. She's been doing it for has it been over 15 years? You've been there for a while.
No, I've actually been the Director of Agriculture for 8 years, but I've been involved in agriculture advocacy for 15 years.
And you're primarily in the swine industry or cattle industry? Which do you prefer?
So we have hogs, cattle, corn, and soybeans on our family farm, as well as some hay. So we're pretty diversified.
And Merle, this is why she's so politically correct in everything she does. You know, she diversifies herself. Chris, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Love to have you come back and then spend more time with Better Horses.
That sounds great. I look forward to the opportunity. You guys have a great afternoon.
All right, Merle, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more Better Horses right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan Luter, a specialist in equine performance medicine at the Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Our new service focuses on lameness diagnosis, advanced imaging, physical therapy, and regenerative medicine for horses with injuries preventing them from performing at their best. We can treat a variety of conditions and design a customized rehabilitation plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service. That's our heritage.
Established in 1956, the Pinto Horse Association of America was formed to welcome all types of equines and maintain their show records and pedigrees. PTHA currently has over 88,000 members with 157,000 registered pintos. There are currently 3 separate registries: the Color Registry, the Solid Registry, and the Long Ear Registry. We welcome all levels of competition within a family-friendly environment. Become a member, register, and add value to your horse. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com. Runny nose, cough, fever. It's flu season for humans and horses. Like human flu vaccines, equine flu vaccines must be updated to protect against the flu strains circulating now. Merck Animal Health's flu-containing vaccines include the most current flu strains, protecting your horse from illness and time-missed training because of it. Talk with your veterinarian about Prestige flu vaccines and learn more about the science of advanced protection at prestigevaccines.com.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
2024 is the year to compete in the world's largest horse show, the Pinto World Championship. This 13-day event begins June 8th, starting with our youth weekend through June 22nd, and caters to all riding levels and ages. With over $1 million in cash and prizes, there are no qualifications required to enter. Held in Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at the Ford Complex, the Pinto World Championship caters to all types of equines. With over 700 classes, the Pinto Show welcomes a variety of breeds to compete. It's a family environment with healthy competition. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. Merle, I can tell you, probably one of my favorite shows we put together.
Yeah, that was neat. There was something to take away from each one of them.
You know, I can't tell you how many challenges boarding barns have every day, dealing with horses, dealing with people, dealing with nutrition, dealing with just agriculture, pasture management, everything coming in for spring, and watching the temperatures change dramatically, watching your colicking, getting ready for the horse shows. And they are just not appreciated, the amount of work these boarding barns put together.
Oh, that's a fact. And Ed, I'm sure you can speak to this, but nothing ever breaks when you're not using it, you know? And so it never fails. If I want something to break, I either have to use it or leave town and then let the help use it. And then usually it'll break. I mean, there's always something that needs done around here.
You know, in our show, at our TV show, we always highlight trainers. What I have noticed is when you go to a boarding barn, these people have been dealing with different types of horses their entire lives. They probably have the best training tips or ways to get around things. They have a lot of things in their toolkit, and I've been fascinated by them. So I just want to shout out to all the boarding barns out there. We appreciate everything you do. I think the younger generation, a lot of them are aging out. They can't do it. The margins are not great, but at the end of the day, it's very much appreciated.
Yes, that's a fact.
So with that in mind, we'd like to invite everybody to check out Better Horses. We have our spring paper that's coming out here shortly. You can listen to us, you can read about us, and you can also watch us on our TV show. We're on Rural Radio, and we're also on RFD and the Cowboy Channel just by looking up betterhorses.com. But before we go, I want to thank our producers and for the show. And more importantly, Kelly Creech at Better Horses for our TV show, and our radio producer, Brianna Johnson, that makes us sound better than we really are. So that's kind of a fact. So, but at the end of the day, we want you all to be good buckaroos and buckarettes. Mind your mom and dads and be brave, but don't take any chances out there. Until next time, I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
Happy trails, and always ride for the brand.